After wife passes, man finds a 50-year-old letter that shocks him to the core. Losing a loved one can be a difficult process, one which involves a lot of tears and strength to move on. But what if you discovered something unbelievable when sorting through their things? Tony Trapani and his wife were married for more than 50 years, so when she passed, Tony was devastated and had to adjust to life after half a century of spending every day with the woman he loved. Eventually, he had to start clearing her things, but came across something he never would have expected. What Tony discovered was a handwritten letter that his wife had hidden. The letter had a date on the top that read 1959, which means Tony's wife had kept the letter a secret from him all those years. And the letter contained confidential information about his life that she chose to keep concealed from Tony for the entirety of their marriage, and there was a reason for that. The Trapanis had a long and loving marriage, but they were missing one piece of the relationship that they both longed for. Although they had tried for many years, Tony's wife was unable to conceive a child, which left both her and her husband devastated, as at the time there were no artificial means of conceiving like there are today. Tony opened the letter and began to read its contents. It began innocently enough, "Dear Tony, I bet you're surprised to hear from me after so many years. I was just thinking about you tonight like so many other nights, but I thought I would write you and find out how you are." But then he realized the letter was not from his wife, but from a woman he had gone out with before he was married. And in the next paragraph, Tony's ex-girlfriend revealed a stunning revelation that would change Tony's life forever. She explained, "Tony, please don't be angry or surprised to hear this. I have a little boy. He's 5 years old now, gray eyes and beautiful black hair. What I'm trying to say, Tony, is he is your son." Tony could not believe what he had read, but he continued to read. His ex-girlfriend continued and wrote, "Please, Tony, if you can find it in your heart to forgive me, please come and see him. Every day he asks me where is his daddy, and believe me, Tony, I can't even answer him anymore. I would be forever grateful to you if you would just see him." After those words, she signed off her letter by writing to him, "I'll close now, hoping and praying you will answer." Tony was shocked to hear the news that he possessed a son he never knew existed. He assumed that his wife opened the letter when she received the mail and read it, and she didn't want him to know and subsequently hid the letter in her filing cabinet. But now that Tony knew the truth, he decided he had to search for his son, and this action would lead to another surprising revelation. The first thing Tony did was search for his ex-girlfriend Shirley Childress and his son Samuel Duane. Tony's sister Arlen Schulte decided to search on the internet and began looking for his son on Facebook, including potential connections to his son or other relatives of Samuel. In doing this, Tony knew he was one step closer to finding his son. As for Samuel, well, he grew up without knowing who his father was and lived alone with his mother in Pennsylvania. Samuel was curious about who his father was, and he would often ask his mother about what Tony was like. In an interview with Fox in 2015, Samuel said,
"I always asked my mom, I said, well, what does he look like? And she said, go look in the mirror."
Samuel was aware that his mother had written to Tony about him when he was 5 years old.
She told me she sent a letter.
However, after they received no response from Tony, Samuel believed that Trapani did not care about him or rejected him. As a result, Samuel Duane did not have a positive opinion of his father. However, he was unaware that his father had never seen the letter. Throughout Samuel Duane's life, he dreamt of meeting his father, and although the meeting seemed unlikely to ever occur, Samuel still had hope that he would one day meet his father. His hope was realized after Tony's sister messaged Samuel's wife on Facebook. The father and son were about to meet for the very first time. Childress was 63 when he met his father for the first time in his life in January of 2015. The meeting was very emotional, and one reason for that was because, for all of his life, Samuel believed that his father did not care about him. However, he now knew that his father would have had a relationship with him had he known about his son. The long overdue meeting was especially emotional for Tony. One can only imagine how difficult it would be to meet their child they just discovered they had. When the interviewers asked Tony how he was feeling, Tony responded,
"Full son that I've had my whole life."
The results of the paternity test took 2 weeks to come back, and in the meantime, Samuel and Tony were building a relationship and getting to know more about one another. However, when the results were found in February of 2015, their emotional ride was about to get even more emotional. Neither Samuel nor Tony were prepared to hear the results of the paternity test. Surprisingly, the results of the paternity test were negative. Samuel and Tony could not believe the news that they were not related in any form. Samuel Dwayne was very understandably devastated at the news that Tony was not his father. After living his whole life not knowing who his father was, Samuel was finally given an answer, only to have his closure taken away from him shortly after meeting the man he thought was his father. However, there was still some good news. Even though the paternity test results came back negative, Childress and Trapani have decided to remain connected. The two bonded in the short time they had spent together, and they wanted to keep a relationship even though they were not technically father and son. Tony finally had the child he longed for, and Samuel found a father figure, and it did not matter to them that they were not actually related. Their relationship was so close that Childress even said that he did not want to continue searching for his biological father. Tony became the father figure in Samuel's life that he was always looking for. He said in an interview, "I call him every day," and talking to him, he says the same thing about the result. Tony said to Samuel, "It doesn't matter what it says, I know you are my son." However, not everyone shares this sentiment. There are a lot of people who are down on their luck and need money fast. Sometimes these people will take to scamming the elderly to get a bit of cash, and there is speculation that Samuel happened to be in this position when Tony's sister contacted him on Facebook. People say that he may have seen an opportunity to get some money out of a depressed and lonely old man. Samuel denies these allegations. Samuel says that he has searched long and hard for his father, and Tony says that he is happy that he finally has a son to call his own. Even though the two are not actually related by blood, the two do not seem to mind, and they have decided that this is where their journey ends. In fact, Samuel has even gone on record as saying that Tony will be the only man he calls dad. Arlene says that while she's happy for her brother and for Samuel getting together, she does not believe that it is healthy for the two of them to continue to pretend to be father and son. In fact, she still has her suspicions about Samuel and has said that she prefers that Samuel leave Tony alone. She believes that the two should separate. However, Samuel and Tony seem happy to have each other. In the end, isn't that what matters most? The couple knew that Tony probably did not have long for this world, and so they began plans to try to move from Williamsport, Philadelphia to Grand Rapids, Michigan in order to be closer to Tony. However, in the middle of all their plans, disaster struck. On the evening of June 23, 2015, Donna Childress was rushed to the hospital. She sadly did not make it through the night and died the next day on June 24th, devastating Samuel. 2 years later, on March 11, 2017, Tony Trapani himself passed away at the age of 83. This was yet another shock to Samuel, who had lost both his wife and his father in such a short period of time. Even though the two were not necessarily related by blood, the two found solace in each other and in their relationship. While Samuel does still have his children, at least he was able to have some sort of a father figure for a short amount of time. One of the things about us as humans is that we always want to know our story. We want to know how we're connected, both to the greater whole, but also to which tribe and segment of humanity. It is for that reason that people who were adopted or only grew up with one birth parent very often try to find out about their biological progenitors. It is an innate human urge to know our history and where we fit in. But even if one finds their real biological parent, the term father or mother remains an emotional attachment and doesn't need a blood test to prove their bond.